Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. Sorry, and I just started my show with my throat not right. It happens. Before I get going, I want to let everybody know that linked to my sponsor, they have decreased their minimum investment. I don't know if it's for the weekend or just today. I think it's for the weekend. Usually their minimum's like $10,000, but today it's $5,000. And this is for accredited investors. They've got some link to on there. They've got some Polysign, Ripple, own some of each of those. They've got some Uphold, and then they've got some other things too, but those are the main ones. The link to that will be in the top of the description. Check this out. This show is, I don't watch it, but apparently this tweet's saying that, let me see if I follow this guy. I do not, but I do now. They're saying that the show The Masked Singer had a clip of where they showed a computer screen. I'm going to pull it up here. All right, watch. If I can get this to come up. Here, watch. Right. If you look, it's sideways, but watch this. See that computer right there? It says XRP, and the number on there is $35,348.50. And he's got it right side up right here. It says party of a lifetime. I'm ready to party. You put the price there, and yeah, it is party of a lifetime. But I don't know the show, and but this is kind of cool if it was on the show. And I'm not saying the price is going to $35,000 before all you crypto police get up in arms and try to do a crypto citizen's arrest. Okay, chill out. It's Friday. And since it's Friday, who do we need to bring to you? The official cool guy, the Digital Asset Investor channel. He's got something to say.
What's up, fam? Happy Friday. A lot of dormant Bitcoin addresses have been activated lately. I'm sure it's nothing.
Dormant Bitcoin wallets. Here's one of them. Dormant address containing 1,128 Bitcoin. That's 31 million or so USD. Has been activated after 10.5 years. And I said, place your bets. Who is more likely to sit on a wallet like this, regardless of price, for over 10 years? An individual or a government with a plan? I've got my money on a government with a plan. Now, you got to see this clip. Now, again, just like I'm not saying 35,000, I'm not saying that I agree with everything he says in this clip. This is a guy named Jim Willie. You can go to his Rumble channel and you can watch the whole video. Listen to what he says here. And again, I'm not saying I agree with every single thing he's saying, but I am saying that it's a very interesting listen. And for that reason, I think you need to hear all 5 minutes of it.
All right, let's talk about XRP. Are you referring to Ripple? Because here's some interesting news. This just came up. You were ranting, so I Googled this. Hold on. Millions of XRP grabbed by whales. Important XRP versus Bitcoin signal appears. You know, I ran into a person out in, where were we? I ran into a guy out in North Carolina who is a crypto guy, and he believes XRP is the next big thing. A lot of people call it bankster coin. Why do you think XRP is going to be in play here in the future? Evidently, some whales agree with you here.
Because it's not controllable at a central location like Wall Street. When the SEC went after Ripple to hamstring them, to tie their hands behind their back, to freeze their progress, I thought, well, there's a winner. Just like Reggie Middleton, they froze him. They didn't make any progress at all in the 16 months when they froze Reggie Middleton. He continued in development. The only information technology software, I shouldn't say that. The only digital finance software development that Wall Street is expert in is fraud.
Now, think about what he just said against the backdrop of what he said about the SEC going after Ripple. They go after Ripple, who's been completely transparent. What is it that we discovered in ETHgate? Disguised whales. What is Bitcoin? Everything's hidden. Satoshi's hidden. You've got a government that met with the 4 Satoshis and tries to pretend like they didn't and pretend like they don't know who Satoshi is. All doesn't make sense. It involves secrecy, hiding things. ETHgate, disguised whales in the ICO, hiding things. They don't want you to see who it is. Nobody seems interested in finding who it is. Over here you got Ripple, completely transparent, and that's the one they go after.
For derivatives, round robin bidding, for algorithm trading, for insider New York Fed trading. Wall Street is expert at software for fraud. They're not expert for software development on the new digital highway infrastructure. On-ramp, off-ramp, trading window. They're not expert at any of that. They don't know jack shit about that. In fact, a year ago, Wall Street started advertising open source fairs. Come join open source. And it was fraud. Again, fraud. That's all they know. It's fraud. It was fraud for people to give their software for crypto and digital finance development, software development, and give it to Wall Street, which then put it under their intellectual property as a gift. Wall Street is good at fraud. Okay, Ripple cannot be corralled. Ripple is about to move its headquarters out of the United States. Ripple has already cut deals with a couple of different BRICS major nations. By that I mean Russia, China.
Again, folks, I don't know that any of this is true, and I'm not saying it is. I just think it's an interesting listen.
Iran. Those 3 countries are going to run the BRICS. They should really do something about Brazil and fix that. I'd love to see Russia-Chinese influence to fix that, but probably not going to happen anytime soon. Russia announced that in view of the SWIFT obstruction, they were going to temporarily use XRP. They're going to use it with all their former Soviet republics, probably on a creeping basis, Eastern Europe, probably on a certain basis with China and the Pacific Rim, but maybe mostly the yuan. Look for the yuan to have a handoff to the Chinese gold-backed digital currency. Look for Russia to use XRP and the UAE dirham as caretaker, temporary payment systems. And I believe, and this is the opinion of a really smart digital colleague of mine, the Russians are going to use XRP to drive up the gold price and put a hot poker up the Anglo-American banker's arse. That's why I think XRP is going to go up. The Russians are backing it. There's a big boycott against the dollar. There's going to be alternatives. Okay, you know, this is going to sound a little outrageous and ironic, but I'm just going to say it. What we might find is that the Asian exporters who take their goods to ship them to Long Beach and other West Coast ports, they might demand XRP. During all the different battles and arguments and conflict over whose CBDC will rule, I think XRP is going to run through with a chariot and get a lot of the global trade. And the Americans might have to pay XRP to get their Samsung televisions and their Hondas and their Toyotas and their Hitachi computers. How are we going to pay for that? They're not going to take our Fed coin, and we won't want to use the Chinese CBDC. I think the compromise is going to be XRP, and it's going to be glorious. It's going to be hilarious. I tell you, we're in for some very serious chaos.
Some very serious chaos. I like that. That's a thumbnail. Very serious chaos. Now, a lot of what he was saying would make really good sense, but I don't know that any of it's factual. Now, check this out. The Digital Euro Association, I don't know what happened to Christine Lagarde's neck, but she's got a neck brace on, and she's meeting with, apparently meeting with a team member from the Digital Euro Association. What does this have to do with anything? Well, first of all, don't forget when Brad Garlinghouse was in Switzerland and meeting with the IMF. He's in a picture with Christine Lagarde. He's also in Switzerland with Christine Lagarde sitting front row in front of him. Also remember this, the digital euro. Who's in the digital euro association? What's the first company you see? Oh, there's Ripple, and there's Circles, as she refers to it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about there, listen to this clip. This is from a couple of years ago.
But it's really what it means. It's you're going to disrupt your business model, you're going to change it, you're going to reduce your cost, you're going to expedite your transactions, and you're going to continue to inspire confidence because you will build that on the basis of an existing backbone, which is your bank and the confidence relationship that you've established with your customers. So that's where I see changes happening now. If you think of Circle and Ripples and all those, that's where they are active and healthy.
So I meant to say Circle and Ripples, okay? Now, check out Susan Friedman, who works for Ripple in regulatory. While the U.S. continues to focus on enforcement instead of clarity, the EU has taken a big leap forward with sensible, progressive approach to crypto regulation. We look forward to building and growing in the European marketplace. And then there's this. Check this out. This is one of the attorneys who filed an amicus brief in the SEC versus Ripple case. And I keep telling you, the judge cannot say that the oranges themselves are securities. The oranges themselves were never the securities, which means that XRP itself, it cannot be a security if this judge gives a legal ruling. There's never been a ruling, according to Ripple's attorneys and her, that that anything in the secondary market has anything to do with Howey either. So both XRP itself and in the secondary market cannot be a security. Listen to what she says.
So the amicus brief that we filed in SEC versus Ripple was actually a follow-on to the brief that on behalf of the Chamber filed SEC versus Telegram, which was the first time the Chamber decided to weigh in on the issue of what is the legal precedent that the court needs to consider with the application of Howey and any existing case law for primary offerings of digital assets. A lot of the same themes that was in the brief in Telegram was within the amicus brief in the Ripple case, as well as a few additional concepts. So the primary objective was to make sure the court, and it's the same court, the Southern District of New York, knows that the current state of the law, the Howey test, applies to primary offerings of investment contracts.
So primary offerings, meaning in the secondary market, trading on Coinbase, Howey doesn't even apply to that.
And to properly ensure the court understands the distinction between an investment contract and the subject of that investment contract. It's an important distinction, both the Telegram brief and the Ripple brief, in that just because a digital asset is offered pursuant to an investment contract doesn't make the digital asset itself an investment contract. There's no legal precedent that would support that basis. And so that was one of the objectives of the amicus brief, to make the court aware of that distinction and ensure that the law is applied in the proper context when the court makes its decision in the SEC versus Ripple case. And just to follow on, in the Telegram case, the court actually, in its opinion, took that into consideration. It was extremely careful in drawing a distinction between the investment contract, is what it was deciding on, and did not go beyond that to provide any view on what law applies to the subject of that investment contract. So I think that was the first objective in the Ripple brief. The second was because the tokens at issue in the case, and the Ripple the Chamber did not weigh in on the XRP token or Ripple specifically in the facts of the case, but because the XRP token had been in the market for quite some time, it was important for the Chamber to also weigh in and remind the court that there is no case law that applies Howey in the context of secondary transactions. And the Ripple case really is about primary offerings of the Ripple offerings and the XRP token, not about secondary, but it was important for the Chamber and its members to also remind the court, to the extent they go beyond, the decision goes beyond the primary offering and covers secondary, that Howey does not necessarily apply. There's no law to support Howey applying in the secondary. And so the court would need to either create new legal precedent, drawing upon existing bills that we cited in the brief that were pending at that time. This was late last year in various House and Senate as proposals, or wait and not decide the issue on secondaries to the extent they wanted to weigh in until there was actual regulations on this topic or congressional action on this topic. And that was also important from a policy perspective for the chamber to remind the court of the implications of no.
So the way I just heard that is that Congress could come in and say digital assets in the secondary market are not securities. That would solve that. But the judge could also come in the Ripple case and weigh on that. Check this out from Warren Davidson. He's doing hashtag fire Gary Gensler and hashtag restructure SEC. Gensler's 7 failures, abusing rule proposals by averaging more than 2 new SEC rules per month, inappropriately short public comment periods, unworkable. Let's get to the crypto. Hotel California rules for crypto. The ability to check in with the SEC anytime but never leave with approval. Endless discovery with no resolution and no clarity for the SEC's captives or the market. I want to comment on this right here. I'll tell you an interesting story here. True story. Hotel California, the album, the Eagles album, Hotel California, was filmed. The photo for the front of that album was taken at the Beverly Hills Hotel in Beverly Hills, California. True story, folks. This happened about, I guess it was a month ago. If you've never eaten at the Beverly Hills Hotel, it's a must do, because when you're sitting there, you go and eat at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and it's the most surreal atmosphere you've ever been. Some of the most famous people in the world are there every night, and they go in and out of there, and they've been doing this for decades. Movie stars, the Kennedys, Marilyn Monroe, you name it, they've been through there. They actually have booths in there that are certain movie stars, that's their booth, it's that kind of thing. So about a month ago, I went to eat dinner there because I'm fascinated by this place. It's the most cool atmosphere you'll ever sit in. I'm sitting there with, let me think if I can tell you, I was actually sitting there with Brad Combs of Digital Perspectives. Sitting there, and we're eating dinner, and Michelle Pfeiffer is literally a table over, okay? And so we're like, whoa, that's Michelle Pfeiffer, and trying to play it cool. All of a sudden, this guy leans over at our table, and he says, I know who you guys are. I'm one of the biggest XRP holders there is. And it ends up being some young attorney, sits down at the table and literally sits there and talks to us for a while. And it was then that I realized just how big this whole XRP thing is. There are a lot of people that are involved in this. It is a worldwide thing, and I believe that the reason that there's so many people that have been drawn to this whole thing is because they just know in their gut. They know in their gut that so many things don't make any sense anymore, and that XRP does make sense. There's a lot of good guys and a lot of bad guys in this stuff, and I feel like a lot of us out here have, you could call it catching a wave. You can call it spotting something that only happens every 200 years. But that's what I've always believed. Ever since I discovered XRP, that's what I've always believed, is that this was one of those once in 2 or 3 lifetime shots. And I'm glad to be here. It's been a surreal experience. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that I just told you one hell of an interesting story right there in the middle of ground zero of some of the biggest movie stars in the world, who's recognized but a couple of YouTubers that talk about XRP. How wild is that? Thanks for listening. Have a good week.